Welcome back to our glorious People's Republic. Before we get started, I wanted to show off the cultures and religious map mode, because I keep forgetting to do it. To start with, our Median culture is spread quite a bit throughout Italy. In fact, Neapolitan, which was once one of the more dominant cultures, has kind of been submerged in a lot of ways. A lot of the provinces or the locations no longer have Neapolitan as the majority. The most populated Neapolitan province is, of course, Naples itself, where there's still 400,000 Neapolitans, but elsewhere they're very much becoming a minority within the nation and within their own homelands as they are integrated into the Median culture. We see similar affairs in Corsica, where the people here are really almost entirely Median, with only a few Corsicans left in the world. If we head over to the culture list, we can find Corsican in here. There are only 42,000 Corsican pops left in the world, and they're all gradually converting to Median culture. In North Africa, we don't see much conversion to Median, except for in the area around formerly Carthage. In fact, Medians are actually the majority here in Tunis itself. This was intentional by me, though. At a certain point, I was investing in increasing the Median culture here so that Tunis would become a full core. Outside of that, in northern Italy, we also see some minor conversions to Median. Genoa is still majority not Median though. Venice, on the other hand, has actually become majority Median. Venetians are now a minority within their own city, probably for the best. We don't really see much conversions over in France because we haven't full cored a lot of this land. A lot of it's still conquered, and the bits that aren't conquered are integrated, which gives a -10 to pop conversion speed, which basically ensures that no pop conversions will happen in these integrated provinces. We'll need to accept the cultures here or manage to increase our conversion rate so it's above 10, which is quite difficult. If we use Rome as an example, our conversion rate, even with all of our modifiers, is only 4 pops a month, which isn't going to be enough to overcome the -10, but it's a work in progress, right? As we do integrate cultures and absorb them, the cost of keeping them accepted will decrease, and we'll be able to accept more cultures as we go forward. We are a little bit over our cultural acceptance capacity at the moment, which is bringing down our cultural influence as well as the efficiency of our cabinet, simply because I was accepting a lot of the French cultures after we conquered them. But as I said, that's a problem that will solve itself. I really hope we can become an empire, because it will give us +2 to this and bring us up to 8, really decreasing the overcapacity. So let's check religions. As you can imagine, Lollard has spread pretty decisively throughout Italy. The city of Rome, though, still has a very large population of non-Lollards, 200,000 Lutherans and 100,000 Catholics. The city of Naples is actually one of the main Catholic strongholds still in our country, with 200,000 of them there. If we head over to the societal value for religion, we can actually see that Sunni is actually the majority religion in our country right now, most likely because of the few million people we conquered when we conquered Egypt now being in our nation. There's 3 million Sunni pops in these 3 provinces alone. Lollard, of course, comes second, with Catholic following not too far behind. And then we have some Luthers, and then everyone else is less than 1%. The fact that Lollard has surpassed Catholicism as the second largest religion is definitely nice though. And most of these Catholics are actually located in Italian provinces, which have been pacified, so they aren't much of a concern. Elsewhere in Europe, we can see that Catholicism is still the largest Christian nation, with 100 million pops, while Lutheran only has 31 million and Lollard only has 10 million. If we take a look at the New World, we can see that Catholics are pretty dominant in Southern America, whereas in North America it's a little more divided. We've got the Bulgarian colonies with Orthodox as their primary religion, then we've got these Sweden colonies with Lutheran as their primary religion up in the Canadian areas. And we have the few Lollards roaming around in our colonies here. With all that said, what are we going to do today? We'd like to finish off Morocco, if possible, and fully remove them from North Africa. We'd also like to continue making progress against the Mamluks, potentially reaching up to the Ottomans and then beginning taking them apart. We've begun our colonization of Australia in earnest, and as we're the first to arrive here, there shouldn't really be anyone to stop us just colonizing the whole island. Outside of that, I'd like to re-attack Hungary and do better this time with our new, much more powerful People's Army. So let's just get on with it. First thing we're going to do is start fabricating a claim on the Moroccans. for a religious war. We're also going to start fabricating claims on a lot of these smaller nations that just are hanging around in the lands we want to take. There isn't much reason for us to tolerate their continued existence after all. Another thing we're going to do, it's very minor, but we're going to switch to the constitutional parliament. It's going to cost us 50 Republican tradition, but honestly, it just feels thematic. It makes the estates a little happier, 5 estate satisfaction for each of them, and also reduces the request support needed for issues. So for example, if we wanted to change a law, the amount of support we need in the parliament would be 25, making it so it would only cost 25 support in parliament to change a law or to raise extra levies or to request more taxes. So we're going to do it. This was something I quite expected. The Egyptian population have of course revolted against us, and they've brought in Egypt as well. But Egypt's kind of on the back foot right now. They're actually fighting a war with Bulgaria, and they've lost a lot of their army size. The fact that we've bisected their country probably doesn't help. Their control is kind of collapsing in all of their lands outside of Egypt. So it shouldn't be much of an issue, us just cleaning them up using our existing armies. We're going to try and not bully the Egyptians too much though. Or in the midst of this war with the Mamluks, we're actually going to declare war on Morocco as well. Shouldn't be too much of an issue wiping them out. I'm so confident in our ability to defeat the Moroccans, we're only going to assign a single legion to deal with them. We've managed to pretty much beat up the Mamluks, so we're given a choice really. Do we take Fez and only Fez? Would it be only Fez? I guess we could take something like this. We'll need to beat them up a little more. Or we could just take a load of the country. Something like this. Is Fez... How valuable is Fez? It's only making around 100 ducats. There's only around 200,000 people there. It's not that valuable as a location. It's probably just because it's their capital that it's costing so much to take it. So yeah, I think we'll just take something like this. They can keep their small little territories. We'll come back for them later. Oh ho ho, the coalition is back. Who's in it this time? I think it's just Burgundy, France, Castile, I think. Let's take a look. Yeah, Castile, Portugal, France, Burgundy. They haven't got Bohemia or anyone else really of note. So we should just clean them up, really. I left around 3 legions here in Italy. One is much reduced though, only at 10,000 men. But surely, in total, that brings us to about 9,000. Should be more than enough to just beat the coalition back. So I think that's what we'll do while we continue our conquests elsewhere. I do wonder, will the AI ever reach a point where it says, okay, we can't win, and stops declaring coalition wars? Or will they just declare them forever? Alright, we're going to peace out the Moroccan, the Mamluks. We're going to annex the Revolta and take a few small provinces from the Mamluks. Nothing crazy, we'll take a bit of money from them. I do feel it's unfair to take a lot of land from them when they're forced into these revolter wars. I knew I wouldn't like to be forced into a revolter war, so it feels a little rude to bully them too much, but maybe that's just me. I was thinking a little bit about how levies work in the game, and I was wondering whether it would be worth changing the levy system. Obviously, I wouldn't be thinking about it if I wasn't thinking about changing it, because the problem is, I suppose it's not that much of a problem, but you get these really large levy armies late game who are basically just there to die because they're so weak, they just melt against regulars. So I was thinking, what if instead of having hundreds of thousands of levies who just die, it would be better to have better levies, but less of them? Because if we look at the age system, levies lose their efficiency every age, getting worse and worse. Maybe instead of this, the amount of levies you can have decreases, but their efficiency stays the same. That way you'd have less levies, but they would be able to fight better against regulars. Something similar to what we see with navies here, where navies don't become worse, the naval levies, but you get less of them to the point where you don't get any at all, essentially. It's just a thought, because I don't really like the idea of these hundreds of thousands of levies that just melt the moment they come into contact with actual armies. It just feels kind of pointless. They're just here just to die. We could probably do without them being in the war at all. So maybe actual better levies that just are, there's less of them would make more sense. That would represent, I suppose, the transition away from levies towards more conscript-based armies who actually had the bare minimum when it came to training, so they could actually fight and not just immediately die. We're actually very close to becoming an empire. We just need around 14 prestige and we'd be able to become an empire right now. Problem is whether we're going to be able to get that 14 prestige, right? If we humiliated Burgundy, that would give us 9. 9 isn't 14, obviously. Here's a question: why does annulling treaties not give prestige like it did back in EU4? Is there a reason? Prestige just seems so hard to come by if you're not playing under monarchy with hundreds of family members you can marry off just for the constant influx of prestige. But oh well, we'll try and humiliate them, no more than the Burgundians deserve after all. Really, we need these battles to be less one-sided. We need our enemies to actually be good at fighting so that we can get more prestige from actually beating them. Alright, we're going to make peace. We're going to humiliate them and take a little money. It's not going to be enough to push us into becoming an empire, but it puts us pretty close. If we get a positive event, like in the next few months, we'll become an empire. If not, we're going to get ready to attack Hungary. Well, not if not anyway, we're going to get ready to attack Hungary once our casus belli finishes. Hopefully we can get some prestige during that war with Hungary. There's our war goal against Hungary online. Does Hungary have any allies? It doesn't look like it. They've just got this one nation down here, this one little one location minor, who they're in a marriage union with. Then they have a few vassals. I don't see them posing much threat to us. Their alliance with Bohemia, or Poland I think it was actually, has clearly no longer exists, so we shouldn't have much problems just beating them up, so let's just get on with it. Before we even think about the actual war, what would we like to take? I'm thinking we extend down something a bit like this. We just kind of make a beeline down to towards where Serbia and Albania are, and Bulgaria obviously, so that we can start thinking about extending our glorious Roman influence down into those lands as well. We're still very close to becoming an empire. We just need one good event that gives us around 10 prestige and we can become an empire. Whether that actually happens, of course, remains to be seen. One thing of note is we have lost our status as the military hegemony because Ming has increased their army up to 200,000. We're trying to catch up to them by expanding our existing army. It might be about time that we create another People's Legion. Armies have gone quite expensive in this era though, so we'll need to be able to build up a bit of a bank before we can start thinking about such a maneuver. Now here's a battle: 3,000 of the people's finest versus 130k Hungarians. We do have some reinforcements coming in, around 28,000. Honestly, we probably should win this, just due to the difference in morale. Their army is mainly levies. I think they do have some regulars in. They also have some vassal soldiers in as well. We've already killed 28,000 of them and routed 28,000 of them, and our losses are pretty low. We really should just win. This is the sort of battle that should give enough prestige for us to become an empire. It probably won't though. Before we have these reinforcements arrive, we're actually going to have them sit in the location next door, which was clearly the worst idea. I was thinking we would recover a little morale, but it seems that doing so led us to losing the battle. Oh well. We'll just pull back. We can afford to lose one battle or so, whereas I'm not sure they can. For some reason, we just became the cultural hegemony. I'm not really sure if we deserve to be the one, but I guess we are. I really wanted to be the military hegemony, but look how big the Ming regular army has become. 300,000. Surely we'll be able to capture up to them eventually. We've actually become eligible for the court and country disaster. I'm actually going to let this trigger because it's a kind of an okay disaster. I see a lot of people saying it's really difficult to deal with, but I've triggered it 3 times, I think, as 3 different nations, and I've never really had a problem with it. It basically just means we have to be a little cautious for around 10 years, and then it kind of just goes away, as long as we've got our values high enough. On that note, we'll need to get our liberalism up, but luckily the court and country disaster will actually help us increase our liberalism. Oh god, it's happened. An event that's going to give us 10 prestige. Now they're speaking our language. We've done it. I think? Not quite. We're not a great power at the moment. We dropped down for some reason. Oh well, hopefully we'll gain some great power score before we lose the prestige. Oh, there we go. We're back to being a great power. We're going to do it. We're going to become an empire. It's taken hundreds of years, but we've done it. We are now the Imperial Roman Republic. I'm not sure if that makes sense as a name, but it is what it is. On the plus side, it means we no longer need to try and stack prestige to become an empire. And we also get another cabinet position. How beautiful. Alright, it's been a long and grueling war. We've killed nearly 500,000 Hungarians while losing around 30,000 of our men ourselves. I'm actually surprised at how tough Hungarian soldiers are. Maybe they've grabbed a research that I haven't. But we're going to take the whole coast of Hungary. Going to reduce, well actually they'll still own some sea here unfortunately. Wanted to reduce them to the point where they had no access to the sea. Regulate them into just being a landlocked country. Although, should we take a little more? Maybe it's time to get a bit greedy. We could take something like this. We would need to rack up a little bit more war score. I think we can do it though. I think we'll do it. Getting greedy is one of my worst personality traits, but sometimes it leads us in a good direction. There, even more Hungarians slain, but we can now make peace. But we could get more. Oh, I'm just feeling so greedy. I can't contain it. There, I think that will be our limit. This will be our limit, I promise. We won't take anything more than that. There, we're going to take what we discussed. It's going to make quite a few people angry, but honestly, we're kind of fine with that at this point. There's not much we can do to make them unangry anyway. There. Glorious. Roman rule has returned to the provinces of Dalmatia? Either way, we're back. And this puts us within striking distance of both Serbia and Bulgaria. Is it time for our triumphant return to the city of Constantinople? Almost definitely. For now though, I think we'll leave it here. We've managed to expand quite a bit. How close are we to forming Rome now? We're 1,500 provinces off, so we took around 200 provinces, or locations even, in this session. Of course, once we reach the age of revolutions, we'll begin to take even more. I wish I could maintain my status as the military hegemon, but Ming keeps stealing it from me. We'll see if there's anything we can do about that in the coming episodes. One thing before we finish up is I want to decide what to call our Australian colony. As you can see, we've colonized nearly all of Australia. We're going to leave the interior to be colonized by our colony. I was thinking I quite liked the name that someone proposed of calling Australia Tartarus. Just the idea of a Italian or maybe Roman explorer stepping off the boat, arriving in Australia and seeing, I don't know, some big spider or maybe an emu and being like, yep, this is hell. It appeals to me. I'm not quite sure why their flag is the flag it is. It's definitely not appropriate. I kind of wish that we had the system that we had in EU4 with client subjects where we could rename and change the flag for subjects on the fly. Because I'm not sure this flag is appropriate. These are Lollard people and Median. Doesn't really make sense for them to have a crescent moon flag. I didn't even deport any Islamic pops here. I don't think there is a single Islamic pop in Australia, so it doesn't really make sense to me that there would be the crescent on the flag. It's Medians all the way down. But now though, this is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. We've managed to become an empire. I almost didn't think it was going to happen just because getting prestige up high is so difficult, but it has happened. Next time we'll see about liberating Constantinople. Let's have a look at Constantinople. Still majority Greek. In fact, the Bulgarians have been unable to fully core Constantinople, so they haven't done any cultural conversion there. I imagine we'll roll right over them. First, we'll pierce through Serbia, and then we'll pierce through Bulgaria and go straight for Constantinople and liberate it. Might even steal some colonies from the Bulgarians while we're at it. We could do to expand our Elysian colony up here. But to say it again, thank you for watching and see you next time.